Back in part two is Sheena Sharp talking about the economy and climate as we continue on.
So I want you to tell me your top 5.
Or what?
Tell me who you think is doing a good job on climate change.
Who's doing a good job?
Yeah, you tell me. You said maybe you had 5 groups you thought were doing a good job.
Yeah, I won't mention the names because they don't get in trouble with the other groups. I'll put it this way. They're all green. You know?
Oh,
I can tell you offhand later on, but no, I've seen what they've done. The work they, okay, let's go to example, Ontario Place. What do you think of Ontario Place? What they want? What they want to do?
oh, what a nut. And you know what? In my ward, I ran against Mark Saunders. Okay. And everyone thinks Mark Saunders, what they think former chief of police, right? And he was. He's a nice guy when you debate him, right?
He
Because he
sucks
came
to the chief.
for a PC, he came to debates, okay? But you know what he did after he retired from the police? The Conservative Party gave him a job as a development consultant
Oh yeah.
for Ontario Place.
Yeah, I heard about that.
And then you look at that and you say, well, because somehow he knew how to organize, well, not somehow, because he knew how to organize a police force, therefore he knows how to, like, what? Like, are you crazy? So I think.
No, I'm gonna be direct. I'm an ethnic background. I'm gonna be direct. Called fill the colored quota. That's all it is. You're gonna get mad when I'm gonna say it's true. When people put in positions here, it's filling a certain ethnic background. You know, when people complain about hey, they don't have enough nationalities in just a certain area. No, like they put them there. They put them there for a reason. Appease the masses. You know. I know you heard of the. Well, we'll talk about that. Something else.
I think so. I think there's some of that.
He's got no experience. He's got no experience to.
He's got no experience, absolutely none at all.
He must have put Council Bradford. He's an urban planner. Put him in there. He's got experience.
I know, it's craziness. And so you look at this thing, and the Green Party, by the way, believes that it should be a provincial park. Okay. It's partly owned by the province and partly owned by the city.
Yeah.
And there are parts that are falling apart, but there are parts that are not falling apart and that are beautiful. It was an icon that originally put Toronto on the map, and it is unique to Toronto. Like Premier Ford seems to think, oh, well, the Therm will put Toronto on the map. Are you kidding? It's like one of their locations in a backwater somewhere. And it is so expensive. The first time I thought, how can a spa make money?
Did you go on their website, the company website? That's the one that's doing it. I forgot what they're called.
There's a bunch. I've been looking at the architect's drawings. I've been looking at the landscape.
The company that's the one. Third, what is it? Yeah.
Therm,
yeah. So I went to the website. I checked out. I went through. I made contacts with people I know on that side of the area. And they said, this is what they said. It's beautiful, Phil, but we can't afford it.
No kidding. That's the first thing I said. This is expensive. This building is too expensive for that business.
And there's people that designed the thing. They said we can't afford it.
but they can't.
It's going to be a Target.
It's going to be huge. No, it's going to be a casino.
No, it's going to be no. I'm saying Target. Like what happened to Target?
Oh, I think it's going to be a casino. When I looked at it, the first time I looked at it, I thought hotel. This is a hotel.
Well, his brother wanted that years ago. The two.
I know exactly.
Yeah, they wanted the Ferris, like a amusement park and all that. Yeah,
you know, go in there.
You know Ontario. You know, Sheena, how far Ontario in the wintertime. Who goes there in the wintertime? You know,
lots of people. A whole bunch of people. I went in the wintertime. There's people who kayak off there. There's people who run off there. Like
was that when it's open? Is that still going on, or that was open? Was that when it was open?
No, now there's a whole bunch of people who use it.
I watched this John Lorick. I can't say his name, but he did a bit of a documentary.
Spacing magazine,
yeah,
like
he showed like all the stuff that's Ontario can be recyclable and can be fixed, and I believe that. I looked around myself. It's a lot of there. It's just this lot of repairs here and there. Like there's nothing wrong with it.
It would be beautiful as a provincial park. And it would be beautiful. The other thing is that is just another boondoggle. This is probably Mark's, he was at the helm at this point. But this Ontario.
Mark Saunders?
Yes.
Doesn't even swim the guy.
I know, but so Ontario Place, the Ontario line was supposed to go from Ontario Place to the Ontario Science Center, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But the Ontario Place is not, it goes to Exhibition Place.
That's right.
And it's 800 meters, which is almost a kilometer
Yeah,
from the subway station to Ontario Place.
that's right. Yeah, I saw the
Like,
picture.
why didn't they take it into Ontario Place?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you know, the whole thing is just, and there's nothing that would really stop it. So it's just weird decisions. And yes, I know it would have been more money, but it's kind of like, so, you know, your boat comes so far and then you swim the last 800 meters, like that's craziness, right? The boat should go to the dock. So like,
Well, they want to
otherwise, what are
put
you
parking there,
doing?
tear all the trees, put parking there on the island and all that stuff. Yeah,
Is it 4 stories or 5-story parking garage in a lake?
and underground too.
That's not easy to do because lake water is, there's like groundwater, right? So you have to build a bathtub to prevent the water from coming
Yeah,
into the
but
parking garage.
Ontario Place is artificial. I saw as a kid in being built up on the building my old downtown
Yeah,
back.
it's
then.
artificial.
I
Yeah,
saw it being built for years as a kid.
yeah.
So when they say they're gonna like dig down, I go, really? How far are you gonna go down? You're gonna, it's
It's
not.
like, when you look at it, the first layer down is all like services, and it's double height for large trucks and bringing stuff in and bringing stuff out.
It's not that
It's
deep for
huge.
digging.
Yeah, it's like 5 or 6 stories
Yeah,
down.
I mean, you know what they're gonna do? You're gonna dig down, do what?
It's going to cost a lot of money,
Billions and billions of money.
billions and billions. And you know, we need transit. Like, this is just craziness.
Has the
Like
government
the
agreed to,
little mishaps.
have they agreed to coordinate with the Ontario Place group? They're trying to get things done. I'm part of that too as well.
Oh, are you really?
Well, I'm not officially, but I go in the I go in the park, I go in the meetings and all that, and I
Yes,
see the
yeah.
plans,
That's
putting
good.
input
Okay.
there. I'm not being mean, but I'm saying right now, what you're doing is not gonna make any difference on something that has to be done. I said that in the video, something has to be done to stop this all the way. So there has to be something, I have some ideas, but I said, it's gotta be, because this, right now, they're making a decision, they're gonna put, like you said, maybe a casino, they're gonna put this. And they're just bull crapping this groups, Ontario Place group, there's a few of them. And they're just feeding them like biscuits. Yeah, we're gonna take your considerations. Here's a biscuit. Go bite on that.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's make you're actually
Phil,
mad. You're actually
Who
mad.
showed up? Who showed up to vote at the last municipal election where we
I know.
both
But
ran?
what makes me mad is all these groups, like Chloe Brown's part of that group. I think she did some did an article. There's a whole bunch of like Norm Pascali. I met them, I debated with one. But I'm saying all these groups, all these people, these hundreds of people have put their time and sacrifice, just like going over there. They're like, it's like a deputation. They do all this stuff to be heard. They care about and you know what they say? Sorry, too bad. That's just bull. It's just ignorance and just damn rude. Well,
It's
look at
nice.
budget.
Thank you
They had the
very
budget
much.
committees, all the
Yeah.
deputations. Sorry, thanks for wasting your time, but we don't really want your opinion. It's all, you know what? If I was a mayor, I tell people right now, get rid of those committees, get them out of there. Don't waste people's time.
I think we need this
They're just-
idea, and it's kind of comes from Jane Jacobs, right? And that somehow a group of people get together and they will change political opinion. But the public meetings are so staged right now. And you're right, they don't really have very much of an effect.
So I didn't see the whole thing, but one woman got berated because she was talking about mental health or something, and Nunziata, they're all going on about something that somebody got killed. So she said, I haven't seen what I heard. What's it have to do with my statement? It didn't have anything to do with what she was talking about. I'm just saying, and I know they have like tomorrow, Monday's the meeting for the young for all.
Yeah.
So I've been promoting that with I interviewed Robin Richardson and
Yes.
and
He's really great.
and Robert they're really nice. And you know what? All this time, and they're just on their own hours. They're working. They all have full jobs, I believe.
No,
Right?
Robin, I rented my campaign vehicles from
Oh,
Robin.
yeah, company, yeah. Happy Feets.
Yes, Happy Feet.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so that her job is bicycles, right?
But
Which
I'm just
is
saying that
great.
they're going there tomorrow, like every other group. They have to fight to get heard, fight to get something to improve the economy, green, bike paths for Toronto, you have to fight for it. Why do you have to fight for it? Why don't you stay there all day and do it? Can't you just tell the people, it makes sense, let's do it? You know?
How many of those people voted?
Well, that's the thing. I don't know.
Like-
I don't, you know, I never
We
asked.
had something, we had 43,000, I believe, in the last election and 33 in this election in my ward. And so, and I, you know, I fully accept that maybe I didn't excite very many people, okay? Because mostly Jay Robinson, who is against all of this stuff, there has been no social housing built in our ward since Jay Robinson was the counselor, is the counselor. And she is one of the most conservative on the really controversial votes. She's always not present. Like she goes to the bathroom for the votes or something. I don't get it. So that is the counselor that we have. You know, the number of people who did not vote could easily have outvoted the people who did.
Well,
vote.
half the counselors.
So
Half them.
stop going, like, go to these meetings. Okay, fine. Always write it down, by the way, tip for meeting goers.
Yeah.
Always write it down, because if you just say it, it disappears as soon as the sound waves are gone. Write it down, then at least you can say, where's my deputation in your packet? That if all of those people, okay, fine, go to these meetings, but the number one thing you should be doing is voting.
Yeah.
Like this stuff doesn't mean anything
No,
until we, and why do I do this? Because I get to go to the debates and I get to speak out, right? And so that becomes pretty, that's like the only way that I feel like the knowledge that I have gained can be made public.
Yeah.
Because, and the same thing municipally, like all of the times that I have spent trying to build all sorts of housing. We do high-end housing, we do affordable housing, right? And I know what costs the money. And it's not all city, but it's a lot city. Like you say, oh, I work for the government, I get this sort of tone. Yeah, because when I started working, we would put in 24 sets. Now it's 48. They go to 48 different people who make a list of stuff and give it back to you. And some of it's like the garbage guys say, cut down all the trees. And the tree guys say, oh, you need more trees. And they just dump it on you, right? Like, what am I supposed to do with this? You guys get your shit together. But they won't, right? And this is the experience that I have of government. I get blasted for, like, you know, saying shitty things. Guys, someone has got to stand up.
I get blocked off by all these reporters and counselors too.
The king has no clothes. We need to have an actual goal, like on the ship, we're recycling everything. On the planet, we are recycling everything. In Canada, we are getting rid of 100% of our fossil fuel on time, on budget, and we are recycling everything.
Yeah.
We can do it. We have all the technology. We just prefer not to because we're having the wool pulled over our eyes by the fossil fuel companies. And our politicians are afraid of that. They know that we're confused. They know that we have stuff coming from all sorts of different sides that say, oh, it's too hard. Oh, we can't do it. Actually calculate, go and see how much it will cost. It's not very much. It's like 10% before we get, it's 10% more before we, I worked on a project where we actually worked out the numbers, okay?
Yeah.
So before we get economies of the market by the government actually standing up and saying, no more gas appliances. This is why the states are going nutso. Like you'll take my gas stove out of my cold dead hands. Like you guys have a severe perspective problem, okay? Like this is craziness.
Well, a lot of these guys, these economy guys, they're all paid by the government to like down it, you know. I sent you that Twitter, the two people on Twitter. You said he's full of crap. Remember the one I sent you? I won't say his name.
Yes, okay.
I said, what do you think of this guy? And he said, and one guy's pro climate, the other guy's anti, saying it's all.
Yeah.
The guy that says it's all a bunch of bull. the whole sun thing and the whole
Yeah.
earth and all that, you know. But like I said, the attitude is we don't care, but why should you vote? Well, there's the example right there, you
Here's
know.
the example. And there are economists. I'm just reading a book right now called Choke Point Capitalism, which is essentially how musicians are being, to put it politely, screwed. Because the way that the streaming companies and everything work, you can have a hit song and get like $100 for it.
Yeah.
And these it's the goal of Silicon Valley to find ways to make a monopoly so that they can charge whatever they want. So it's not just the fossil fuel companies, it's all of these companies. And this guy who's really interesting, who wrote Choke Point Capitalism, one of the things he said, Cory Doctorow and Rebecca Giblin, and so the two people together, and they said they're not out to kill you, they're just out to get your money.
Yeah.
And if they happen to kill you while you're doing it, they don't care. But they're actually really only going for your money. Like we are into processes that it is what is driving housing up. I used to think, oh, we have to solve climate change. We can't, solve capitalism at the same time. I now think we have to reform capitalism in order to solve climate change. And we won't be able to do it unless we manage to make that happen.
A couple of years ago was these musicians, I don't know, they all went on strike because they're started being aired on the internet. They didn't have the rights
Yes.
to, what was it? I can't remember what it was. I was trying to recall now. Years ago, they all signed, they all went on strike because their music was being, what's the word? Not booby-trapped,
They were being downloaded.
yeah, downloads.
without
And
paying.
they're just like, yeah.
But the big
Sorry,
music,
the word pirated. They were being pirated.
pirating.
Yeah.
But pirating is not the problem anymore. The big music companies have figured out how to do this legally. So they pocket like 30% for doing nothing. They divide it up among the streaming companies and the music production companies, and the artists are not getting anything.
It sounds like FIFA.
If you look, apparently the number of artists in Nashville is like 10% of what it used to be.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like we should like wake up and look around, because it's not about, oh, socialism. Like, you know what? We change the rules of hockey every now and then to make the game more exciting. We need to change the rules of capitalism to make the game more fair, to give people a chance. And we're just not going to do that.
Unless you show people an interest in any kind of politics, like Rich said, they're bored. Yeah. Well, I tell you, these committee meetings, they're boring. Seriously, they're just dead.
On purpose, they're boring. On purpose. Because then all of this stuff happens that hurts people and they don't notice it.
You know, when I want to take I'll be a senior. I'll be 60 in July. So I'm practicing being a senior. So now when they have the committee meeting, I got my hot chocolate, my little snacks, and I sit on my chair. And I put the committee meeting on. Put me to sleep. and then Corey starts talking. I said, "What the shit you waking me up for?"
But you know what? I think that is our job as politicians. And I know that we're not really politicians until we win, because no one's paying us. We're like would-be politicians. But our job as politicians is to understand how things work and to try to make it understandable, to speak plain language, because on purpose, people make it complex. So people can't defend themselves. They don't know when they have to. But if you want to be a good politician, and when I say good in the sense of, a useful politician, then you have to figure out how to explain things. You have to try to understand stuff, which is hard enough, and then try to figure out how to explain it in a way that people
I said about 3 things in the green economy. I said in one of my videos that I talked to people. You got to change the culture, just like biking. You want my canvassing, my third question to all my canvassing guys said, what do you think of Green Canada? I go, what the heck is that? So I said, you got to change the culture. If you want to do green, you got to educate green. You got to think green and you gotta share green, you gotta work green. Educate kids in school. I said it, go in schools, high school. Show the difference between how your parents live and how you can live in the future. You gotta educate them. It's a culture, like COVID, it was a culture. That's a
You know
culture.
what? You got to educate everyone. Stop cutting people off. You know, when I ran for the province, I canvassed on the bridle path. I went to Drake's house.
Yeah, wow.
They didn't let me in. When I went there, there were 5 big guys standing there. I'm like, nope. Oh, come on.
Wait, you have to face 5 guys? What are you, some sort of reckoning force? Or what?
They wouldn't let me in. I didn't win. Okay. I didn't get by them, but I
Oh
did.
my God.
But I did go. And, you know, there's people there who are concerned about climate change, just like there are people in Thorncliffe Park, just there, like there are people in Bedford Park, you know, different economic groups. But there is a common worry and anxiety about what's
Among
happening.
all the wards
And
and
it's-
communities.
Yeah, and a strong feeling that something should be happening that isn't.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really important to try to pull people together. You know, when I was in Thorncliffe Park municipally, they said, well, how are you going to be able to represent the people in Thorncliffe Park who are a lot of immigrants, not as much wealth, and the people in the north of the riding? But I just looking at this, like I'm standing on someone's front doorstep in the north of the riding, and he's saying, they're stealing cars and no one's coming. And then I'm standing in front of Iqbal Foods in Thorncliffe Park, and they're saying, they're stealing cars out of our parking garage and no one's coming. And I'm thinking, this might not be as hard as you think.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. So, do you think it should be like I talked earlier in our talk earlier? They should make it a law like some of the countries that a list of materials for building, right?
No, I don't think so. I think that because there's 2 things that could independently make the planet unlivable. One is burning fossil fuels, which we have to stop. And so we also burn fossil fuels when we make materials, right? Or when we cut down trees and then we use gas to take the trees to the mill and then take the lumber to the store, blah, blah, blah. But the other thing is forests.
Yeah.
If we cut down our forests, it will even if we stopped using gas tomorrow, if we cut down the forest, the planet will also die. Or die for our purposes, right? It will be fine.
I talked to a lot of construction workers, like foremen. So I asked them
Yeah.
about the how you guys doing economy efficient, green economy.
Yeah.
So this is what they tell me. Said, oh yeah, we do a 10%. We put in like panels, whatever materials, and then it says in about 6 months they're busting because they're all cheap. That defeats the purpose because they don't
Well, we
want to.
have that problem, but it's all the rage right now to say, okay, we're going to build out of wood because wood has a way lower carbon footprint than steel or concrete, right? But it's got a different footprint, which is biodiversity, threatening biodiversity and cutting down forests. Because when you cut down a forest, you plant little trees in a row. That's not a forest. That's a tree farm.
Yeah.
We need to keep the actual forest with the actual ecosystems and the all of the nutrients exchange and all of the insects and everything that work together, because that is what regulates our weather. The forests regulate our weather. And and so I look at this right now and I think it's a problem to be solved. Yes, we're going to need to the federal government, like we just had that biodiversity conference in Montreal, right? And so the federal government is saying we have to protect a certain number of areas. That's a really good start. The thing I read today, which I think it happened a couple of days ago, but the federal government, Stephen Guilbeault, said, we might intervene against the Greenbelt changes. And I thought, yes, the next election is going to be really exciting because then we don't have to wait 4 years for a referendum on Doug Ford, because the federal government, if they intervene, then people can vote against Doug Ford by not voting for the Conservatives, right? I personally am hoping, I know that there are some good, people who are community minded, who are conservatives, I believe they've been holding their noses for a long time, and I want them to vote green. So I'm going to be working on that. I mean, I think there are probably liberals who would like the liberal government to actually do something on climate change, which, as you point out, they're not. But I think the federal election is going to be really interesting.
Yeah. I got a story for you. When I was in Cairo, Egypt, there I sailed the Nile and I talked to tons of people, and I watched their farming system.
Yeah.
And to this day, they don't use any gas, any electricity. This is from way back in the ancient times.
Yeah.
No carbons. The air is beautiful there. And I talked to how they told me the whole system, how it works, how everything is oxidized. They'll actually know how they make the papyrus, how they do it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's all done by manual labor and pressing and getting the water out. But it's it. And they have zero wastage, all recyclable. And they span it over 7 years, just like the ancient times. I study ancient Egyptology, and to this day, and a lot of countries are now taking from them. They're actually learning from them, like I said, by nature, we can learn about so much. Every time they say every time you kill a whale, you've killed the planet.
You've killed a whole gene line. There's not that many whales, and whales are pretty smart, as you know.
Oh yeah.
Right?
And the whole, especially the sea. I mean, we talk about the creatures of the land, but the sea is the biggest proportion of this whole planet.
It is.
They're our biggest educators, yet we're not learning from them.
We're using it as our garbage dump. We're using it to, right now, the sea has been absorbing the heat from the land. And that's why we have so many problems with species in the sea, but it's kind of hitting its limit. And so now we're starting to see all of the mess that's happening, the fires burning, the flooding.
Okay, this Ontario place. You want to take out all these trees. Has anybody done an assessment about, I talked to UNESCO directly, and they told me what you can do, because I'm not part of the government head. I'm just considered. All government heads should look before tearing anything down. Look into, if they tear they tear those trees down, or that area in that Ontario place. How's it going to affect that? How's it going to affect that ecosystem? Have they looked into that? Or are they going to say, well, we'll reduct the birds, put them over here? But they've been.
No, you can't. You can't. Like cutting down a mature tree is not the same as planting a baby tree. No. And there's an ecosystem in the lake because they're expanding the islands, right? As well as digging out and then putting that dirt somewhere. Probably that's why they're expanding the islands.
They now, from Egyptians, they're not taking from the Egyptians. I got this, check this out. A tree gives so much oxygen, right? Yeah. Planting a line. They've now proven if you put 3 trees in exact triangle formation, all equal, that thing will get out 3 times as much oxygen as tree aligned trees like that.
Yeah. There's a book I read that's really good, Finding the Mother Tree.
I've heard of that book. Yeah.
It's a really good book, and it's not a tough read. And they were essentially talking about how the roots talk to each other and feed nutrients.
Yeah.
So a lot of the foresters believe, well, the little trees can't grow because they don't get sunlight, but their mothers feed them nutrients through the roots, right?
Everything's a life force. Everything's a life entity.
Exactly. And that's how you get trees generation after generation, because by the time these trees are teenager trees or young adult trees and their mothers fall down, then they get the sun and then they start feeding the little trees, right? But they have to be big enough when that happens in order to be able to get the sun. So, I'm explaining it way too simply because there's mushrooms involved and a whole pile of other stuff. But it's really like we know so little. And yet we're forging ahead and destroying everything.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
And we could change what we're doing. As I keep saying, we just prefer not to. We're getting confused by the bullshit of the really big rich companies who want
manipulative marketing strategy,
Exactly. It's like the tobacco companies, and now we've got the fossil fuel companies. We have to change this. It's really, really important. And, vote. All these people show up to this public meeting. One thing, if you only do one thing, vote.
You ever see laughing when you see these car commercials? You know, the electric car commercials? I
Yes.
always say, I said, how did they make them in a gas plant? You know?
On Twitter, I know it's a useless exercise, but every time I get an ad for a gas car, I click, I don't like this ad. I don't like
I
this
do the same
ad.
thing. I do the,
And the algorithm probably doesn't get it because I mean, I don't have enough money to buy an electric vehicle. I would like to buy one. Oh, I shouldn't say that. I just bought an electric bike.
there you go. Yeah,
But
you mentioned
like
before. Yeah, yeah.
a car, they're pretty expensive.
Yeah.
But I still look at them, right? I love to read the stats and all that kind of stuff. So the algorithm is probably totally confused because it says, but she spends a lot of time on car sites, but she keeps not liking these ads.
I got that Mitsubishi for, oh, I got so sick of it. Every time you put the tweeter on, 10,000 times on there,
Yeah.
you scroll down. So I just said, heck with it. So I banned them all. I got rid of them all. You know, they
Oh,
know.
I agree with you. Now I understand what you're meaning. Like some groups are not effective. They're just out there making noise.
Oh,
I
I just
agree
like the
with
whole
you.
circle. I tell you, like this, it's a whole con game. Actually,
I
any,
wouldn't
uh,
necessarily call it a
not just
con game.
not just climate, but all other groups as well. You know, that's a con game.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know.
but they're not effective, but it's not that they're conning you per se. It's not that they're lying. They're not effective. They're
Well,
like
they
they
mean well.
believe in
They mean
something,
well. They think by having
but
debates and
yeah,
money funding and all that stuff.
the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah.
We need to actually take over the steering wheels of our government and make this happen. We need to focus on changing like I know both of us spent a lot of our personal time trying to do this, right? But that's what we need to do. People need to get out and vote. People need to actually not say, oh, nothing's going to happen. Make it happen.
You said earlier, there's a whole concern going on around all awards. I've taught communities. They're gathering. That's what's missing, a coalition. One of the ladies I talked to on an interview, her name's Jennifer Alexander. She writes
Yeah.
a paper called the Topical Voice. I interviewed her.
Okay.
She's trying to find a space right now in her community, in her ward, for
Yeah.
getting community gathering. There's nothing available for a big area of Etobicoke. I
Okay.
suggest
Yeah.
maybe try some churches, because a lot of people don't use internet in her area, she said. But she's one voice. Another guy, Anthony Lewis, I interviewed him. He's in Ward 19, Brad's, and he started his own article he subscribed to. It's not like Jennifer's, it's different. It has different things about going on the environment and all. But these are just two people I talked to recently, and they started their voicing. And Jennifer's had examples of what she wants to do for years, and she wants to do more. I said, if you want to do debates or open conversation with people, let's do it. Use me as a tool. I'm here. I got the face, right? That's right. And we get more people involved in their communities, not just the whole, they're doing the stuff for the communities, like projects and parties and functions and all, like the Winterfest and all.
Yeah.
But I mean, like more, they gotta be more than that. It's gotta be everybody.
But we're gonna try to do this in Word 15. So we're starting meetings to say, how can we, the fact that we didn't win, okay, fine. How can we start initiatives to get off gas and put in heat pumps? How can we start initiatives? The federal government has money to finance people buying apartment buildings and making them green. Why aren't nonprofits in Thorncliffe Park buying apartment buildings and making them green?
That's another.
Like,
We have 5 minutes of not talking about nonprofits again. We talked about their law last week.
yeah.
You want to talk on that? You're saying with nonprofits, why are they not more involved before? You said in your first talk there last week.
It's really, I think we as a society are getting,
Complacent?
as we've all stopped working for smaller companies and we work for bigger and bigger companies, and there's less of us with our own companies, we don't get exposed as much to how things work. Like the seniors group that I work for in Sudbury, they're building a building and they had no money. They did convince someone to back them.
Yeah.
And when they convinced someone to back them, the federal government came in, but that guy will leave. and they will have the mortgage, and then they will have a building, and then they can look at other buildings, right? You can do that with new buildings. There's that great video that's circulating from Van City that says that if you have a critical number, a critical mass of nonprofits in a housing area, it brings all the prices down, right? So that's one way of doing it. Another thing we have to attack, Mike Morris of the Green Party in Ottawa. He has put forward a private members bill to change the tax structure so it's no longer as lucrative to buy houses and rent them. You won't make money. And so because that is essentially, the ultra rich have been buying real estate for years, right? They come to it, and because the supply is small, they just jack the rents up. We're all living in this, and we need to find real ways, like marching with signs. I get it. But that's not, as you have said, as I have said, that's not actually going to get you anywhere. You have to identify paths and say, oh, this might work, that might work. How are we going to get on that path? And how can we force our politicians to support these paths, right? And it's, it's frustrating for me because one of the smallest parties, the Green Party, I think they are actually on the ball and there, but they have other issues that we're working through, but they're actually on the ball.
We need fresh, all these, we're getting 3 minutes of all these groups, these levels of government, NDP, liberals. Yeah. Okay, the NDP, they voted a new lady in, they're not getting in not too long ago.
The NDP, the steel workers have control of the NDP.
Yeah.
And the steel workers say, what, you don't want to build a pipeline? And then the NDP just votes for a pipeline. Like, they're not useful. Sorry.
There's one guy I'm going to mention. He blocked me because I was being critical about it. His name is Nor Pasquale.
Oh, yes,
and I said to him, I said, I said, and Twit said, you know what? They need to change. You're the one for the change. You got the balls. You got the voice. I've seen the way you talk to people. But the thing is, he conforms to the ideals of the others, and he could be an individual stand up. He's young enough and he's smart enough, and he did some change before with the Ontario, the planes and the extending the airport. But he's just one person, also example.
Yeah, but Diane Sachs beat him.
Yeah.
Diane Sachs, Deputy Green Party leader.
Yeah.
Not anymore, but before she won, and former Environment Minister for the province of Ontario.
Yeah.
Like, people are starting to care about this.
Right.
You cannot belong to a political party.
You can't bully Torontonians anymore. Those days are over.
No.
I got 1 minute left before I get cut off.
Okay, you get the last word.
I don't know. Okay, so did you finish your interviewing with me successfully?
Yes, I did. I think I understand you better. It's good.
No, just the whole. I talked about the whole. I'm also for fueling, recycling. All the time. Yeah. I think it's like I said, educate, change the culture, and the marketing, all those combined, and you get it fuel. You can't start with the government. You got to start with the people. You get the people upgrade the people's knowledge and awareness, and then you get the lazy buggers in the government thinking.
Do something. Do something.
So that's my get involved.
Okay. So
thanks for coming. I gotta
keep 1
minute.
Thank
anything for you? I got one minute left before you get cut off. So anything you want to add yourself? Thanks for coming on the show.
No, I'm really, thank you very much for doing this. And thank you very much for putting these ideas out into the community. I think it'll make a difference. And let's just keep fighting the good fight.
Yeah, we got to keep doing it because you can't stop. Because if we're going to have the attitude, it ain't going to work. I mean, we're just two people, but it may be people hear us, get out there and make changes like Jennifer Alexander, Anthony Lewis, all these, Nor Pascali. So I got 1 minute left. So anybody hearing this, get your voice out there like we are. We don't want to be sweating our asses by ourselves. We need some more sweat out there.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Thanks for coming on the show. We'll do another one if you want, and we'll continue on. And have a good weekend.
Thank you. Thank you, Phil.
Thanks, Sheena.
Okay, bye.
Bye now.